Hi everyone, my name is Renee. I am a systems and Notion consultant for solo business owners and micro teams. And over the last 6 months, I've made some pretty exciting updates to my time tracking system inside of Notion. And I thought it would be fun to share those with you today. For quite some time, I actually did not use Notion for time tracking. I thought it was a bit more time consuming than I found feasible. I used to use Toggle for like 3 months before I started using the system. But with the addition of Notion Calendar, I have found that it makes time tracking and time blocking a lot easier. So what I want to show you first is how I actually use the system. And then we'll take a look at how I've set up the databases, the properties, and Notion Calendar. So what you're seeing here on the screen, this is usually where I start my day. I have Notion open on the left and Notion Calendar up on the right. On my home page inside of Notion, I have this section here called Action Base. And this is where I interact most with the linked view of my task manager. So I like to say that this is just where my task manager lives, because this is where I would add a task or change the status of tasks, etc. So the tasks that show up here, they are usually manually added right here inside of Notion by clicking Add a New Task or inside of Notion Calendar. But some of them are actually recurring tasks that show up here based on some automations that I've recently added to the task database. Most of the time, however, I usually just double click inside of Notion Calendar. I just double click and I type the name of the task. So let's say that my task is client work, and I usually drag the task down to the duration that I want it to be, or that I think it's going to take me, how long I think it's going to take me to complete. And you'll see that once it is here added inside of Notion Calendar, it also shows up inside of Notion in the same database for the same date. So that is pretty perfect. I actually realized this just last week. So usually inside of Notion Calendar, if you open up the left side menu, you'll see like events, which is usually your default calendar. However, I realized that you could just change your default calendar to be your task manager if it is you really use it heavily like I do in this kind of demo here. If this is not how your system is set up and you use Notion Calendar more to see Google Calendar events and less for tasks, less for time blocking, then you should definitely leave your default calendar as events. But if you do want to use Notion for time tracking and time blocking, clicking on this 3-dot menu next to the whichever database that you have, whatever it's named. For me, it's Task Manager because that's the name of this database. You just have to make that calendar default, and you'll be able to, it automatically adds it to your calendar database. It just saves a lot of time, because before it would show up as, the task would show up under events, and I would have to come across here, click on the event type. For example, if this is an I would have had to come across here, click, and then click my task manager. It's not showing up here because it's already my default calendar, but you get what I'm trying to say. So that is one little tip for Notion Calendar. The next thing in Notion Calendar that I will point out before we get onto the database is that you can drag any tasks that you have up here in the all day section. You can drag those down to the time slot that you want. So let's say I want to do this task at 3 p.m. on Friday, and I think it's going to take me an hour. That is how easy it is to time block your day by just dragging and dropping the tasks inside of Notion calendar. So that is that. I think actually that's really it for everything with respect to Notion calendar. Everything else that I'm going to show you is inside of Notion itself, with the database and with the charts. So let's have a closer look at the task database itself, because there are some properties that I would have added to this database, which allows me to create the charts that I will show you after I show you the database. If I go to the actual full page database, I have a due date, which is just a date property. Most people have a due date, DUE, but I just find that I never use that. I still have it inside of it's a property in the database still, but I just never use it. So I like to see my task based on when I'm going to actually do the task, as opposed to when the deadline is. The next property that I've added to this database is the duration, because I want to know how long in hours and minutes each of these tasks are. This is a formula that I got from Ben Smith. I will definitely link it attached to this video, but this is the formula. I just had to swap out my actual date property, and it gives you this format for the time duration of your task. Then after that, I needed this hours property. The reason why I needed an hours property is because I needed it to show up as an actual number, right? So you'll see that this property shows it as hours and minutes, but I really just want it to be a number. The reason why I want it to be a number is because these totals at the top here next to the day is actually the sum of time that I have tracked for that particular day. It's not the amount of tasks, it's the sum in hours. So for it to calculate, right, if you go to more options and you go to sum, you'll see hours. For it to make this calculation, it has to be a number, and it can't be in this format of for the formula. So this is that formula here, and I do not remember if I used Claude or ChatGPT to create this formula, or if I got this formula online, but I will definitely include it if I did get it from an external source. But yes, these are the two formulas that I use inside of the database to allow me to calculate the different collated numbers for the charts. After those formulas, I have a select property. I think this is a multi-select property actually. And that is just for me to add in a category, which again shows up on the chart. I have the regular status property. And then I also have this done property. The reason why this is a button automation property. And if you look at if I show you the automation, when the button is clicked, the page status is changed to done. That's just because I use this so heavily inside of my system and every day that, for example, when I am finished with this task, when I'm finished recording this video, I don't want to click not started here and then scroll down and click to done. I just want to click done, and then it will go to the bottom of my list. I'm still recording the video, but I will just leave it as as done for now. But it's just a small addition that I don't mind seeing on my screen to save me one click and like a tiny little scroll. So if you don't have a problem with just clicking here and clicking done, then you don't need to have that property at all. I think those are the main properties that I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, these three properties are relation properties to the respective databases. So my content database, authors database, and client database. I just have those there because sometimes I have these recurring tasks like script video, and I may not know which video I'm talking about. So I have the related content database showing up here inside of this database so that I have a visual indicator to know, okay, this is the task, this is the video that I'm actually scripting, because I might have two script videos showing up here, but they are related to different pieces of content, if that makes sense. If it might be clearer if I show it to you like this. So this content database auto fills in these tasks based on an automation. Therefore, each piece of content that I have will have script video, film video, edit video, etc., etc. This was probably not the best example because I did delete some of them from here, but you get the idea. So now you know the two formula properties that I have, mainly this total hours for each task. That's the most important one for what I'm going to show you next, as well as the category. So if I go back to the home page, I have this section for my time log. And this is where I have charts, and each of these charts are just different linked views of the same task manager that we would have looked at this task manager here. Right, so I have one bar chart that's going to show me how much time I've spent on each category. And then I have a pie chart that's showing me all of the hours that I have tracked for the week. I also have a bar chart for the month, but this is the main thing. If I go to filter, you'll see that it just filters based on the due date, DO date being this week, and the status being done. So if, for example, I wanted to see all of the tasks that I did last week, I could filter it based on start date is between the 10th and the 16th. And here you can see that this would have been my time track log for the previous week. But I'll reset that. And the same goes for this. If I go to filter, it's the same filters that I have on. And if I go to is between the 10th and the 16th, you'll see that this would have been the time that I had tracked for last week. So it's very, very simple, but you do need that hours. You do need that hours property because each slice will represent the total amount of hours for each of the categories. Below these charts, I have what I call my task list. And the reason that I have this here is because if I just hover over work, it just shows me 4 hours, 25 minutes, yes, but it doesn't show me what I actually spent time doing. So that's what this task log and this task list is supposed to show me. Everything that I would have done for the day in each of the different categories. And I do have that. So I have it in a few ways, depending on how I want to see it. So I can see all the different work things that I did. I can do the same for my monthly all the times that I exercise, all the times I stretch, but this is more important, all the different work tasks that I would have done for the month, along with a summation. So I can really break it down and see, okay, how much time did I spend on particular tasks from this task log? But this task list is where I actually come in and add the category. This AI property does not work as well as I would like it to work all the time, so I just do it manually, but I'm sure that with time this will get better, and this will not even be a step that I have to use in my workflow. But yeah, that's the purpose of this task list. I also have a priority list, and this is for those kind of tasks that I don't want to do right now. Like I don't want to do it this week or today, but I do want to not forget. Like I want to remember them. So I put them here, high, medium, and low, based on what it is, based on what the task is. Outside of my priority list, the last kind of database that I have is my time tracking stats. This is very personal. I don't think other people need this database at all, but I like it because I like to see the numbers over the weeks to see how many hours I've tracked, how many hours are unaccounted. And then I also just add a screenshot of the graph, the chart inside as well. The hours tracked, I manually put that in, but the unaccounted hours is based on this really easy formula, 112 minus the total amount of hours that I have tracked here. 112 is just the amount of hours in the week, except sleep. If you sleep for 8 hours a week, so it's like 168 minus 56 hours, which will give you 112. Again, very unnecessary. You do not need this, but I decided to show you because I'm showing you this. So, yeah, I really think that is it. The main crux of everything is, yes, the task database, but when I added on the categories and then when I added on these charts, it really has been giving me so much insight into how I spend my time, and maybe this will be useful for someone else as well. So that's the full system. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. If you have any questions, please let me know.